In my secondary school in Cameroon, my principal seized every opportunity to remind us in her beautiful Nigerian accent, women are to be seen, not heard. It is unladylike to speak too much. At the end of every year, she offered a very prestigious award. It was the award for the best behaved in each class. And whoever received this award was going to get the huge sum of 5,000 francs, which at today's exchange rate, by the way, is about $8. So throughout my 7 years in secondary and high school, I tried so hard to receive this award, but I was never nominated, not even once. Here's why. Because at the time, the standard for good behavior was silence. And that is what our principal had always taught us. I remember that my classmates and I used to believe that the quietest girl in class would be the best behaved. She was the girl with a straight walk, with a chest raised high enough to exude some confidence, but not too high to seem too arrogant. She's the girl who smiled sweetly, but never really laughed, the one who never said anything, out of class, never had an opinion on anything, and never, ever argued. And we believed that she would be the best behaved, obviously, because women are to be seen, not heard. It is unladylike to speak too much. Now, that was exactly who I was not. But trust me, I tried hard to be. I am that one friend that I'm sure we all know who embarrasses you each time you go somewhere with her because of her loud, uncontrollable laughter. I'm that one friend who walks into the room as if the world belongs to her, who overthinks everything, has something to say about every single topic, and finds a malicious pleasure in arguing about every single thing. And in fact, the one word that I really hated and that I still really hate till this date is shh. Now you know why I never got the best behaved award. I remember that every summer, I would try so hard to practice to be silent. During family dinners, I would resist the urge to strangle my brother as he dished up all the chicken for himself. I resisted that urge because I wanted to be as silent as a lady. I wanted to stop being a square head piece in a round head puzzle. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to fit into the prison of silence which my society had created for me. Now, that is because, I too had digested the idea that women are to be seen, not heard. And it is unladylike to speak too much. Now, here's the turn. The turn is, each time I stopped arguing with my brother over chicken, he began to take it as a right to actually dish up all the pieces for himself. As a matter of fact, he even began to expect me, his older sister, to wash the plate which he had used to eat up all my chicken. Now, that brings me to Zora Houston's quote, that if you're silent about your pain, they would kill you and they would claim that you enjoyed it. By so saying, Zora Houston acknowledges the vitality in inviting other people into her pain so that maybe together we can fix it. She acknowledges the vitality in the individual voice, but even more importantly, the collective voice. Well, now you ask yourselves, how did Abii-tah become so interested in the collective voice? I have another story for you. I had just turned 8 when I first traded my integrity for the pride that accompanies good grades. My math scores were horrifying at the time. My effort and determination were great, but the fruits were always so wretched. It didn't match. It didn't match up. So my math teacher stretched his arms to save me as I sank in frustration. He wanted to be my Prince Charming, and I, his princess in distress. I still remember that fateful Friday as math exam papers were being shared. I still remember the wild screams of my friends as they succeeded in the math exam. I could hear myself think, well, maybe I have passed this time, because after all, it looks like everybody who always feels like me is passing today. My math teacher stunted towards me, holding my folded exam paper. As he handed over the paper to me, I received it with shivering arms, and as I opened the paper, I found a very familiar grade, another 2%. As I sat there, I could feel fierce sweat gather up in my armpit. I could feel my cheeks as they warmed up, and I could feel the first streak of tear as it journeyed down my chin. I could even hear my inner voice say in the distance, gosh, my mom would kill me today. As I looked around the room, I discovered that everybody had gone home, except my teacher. As I sat there, he gestured for me to come over. I rocked my tiny brown chair, stood up, and walked towards him. But as I walked towards him, I noticed his hungry predator stare on an exposed portion of my thigh. So I fidgeted, I stepped behind, and I pulled my uniform to cover my knees. I thought that maybe he was calling me to punish me for its short length. As I got to the table, I watched as my teacher leaned over, and he said, well, Abii-tah, I know you have a bad grade and you're sad about it. I can fix it. I watched him and just listened. My ears widened as if they were struck with a spell, and I asked him, well, what can you do about it? And he proposed the most absurd means of payment ever made to me. Abii-tah, I would give you an A, but you would have to come to my house and have sex with me. As I looked at my teacher, all I could see in his eyes was a raging desire for everything disgustingly inappropriate. I resisted the urge to punch him. But then, I also badly wanted my A. So in my dilemma, I told him, well, if you give me my A before the end of the semester, I will do whatever you want. Now, my teacher believed that as an 8-year-old, I was desperate and naive, and all I wanted was an A, so he kind of trusted me. Well, he trusted me, he gave me the A, but I never fulfilled my own part of the deal. And even though I never fulfilled my part of the deal, I still regretted certain things. And the biggest part is, I regretted that that day I lacked the courage to stick to my integrity. That day I lacked the courage to stick to what I believed in. That day I lacked the courage to say no and to stick to it. Now, I wasn't going to have sex with my teacher, obviously, but I also couldn't go to school without fulfilling my own part of the deal. So for the rest of the semester, I simply skipped school. I would wake up in the morning, put on my school uniform, pretend to go to school, and roam the streets instead. I was terrified by the idea of what my teacher could do to me if he ever caught me around the school campus. Eventually, getting tired of running away, I decided to find other people who may be going through the same thing that I was. I investigated and I found that I was not alone. There were other classmates of mine who were going through the same kind of harassment from this teacher in different ways. So we came together, we experienced and talked to each other, and for the very first time, we found courage. It was the kind of courage that came from the knowledge that no matter what, we would protect each other. Now, a teacher was the common enemy. He had united us as a tribe of girls. But then it was really a shared empathy for each other that fueled a desire to fight for each other. Suddenly, a united voice emerged. Suddenly, a collective voice emerged. And for the first time, we thought, well, maybe women can be heard and sin. So one Friday afternoon, again, we stormed into a principal's office and we told her everything. We gave her all experiences, everything we had to go through. And, well, she swept it under the carpet. But even though she swept it under the carpet, together we had broken our silence. And together we had paved the way for eventual justice to take its course. And justice eventually took its course. We spoke to her parents, and her parents pressured the school administration, and this teacher got fired. Now, my primary school teacher was not the only one who tried to cheat me. Many more came after him. And they all had one thing in common. They all tried to make me keep everything a secret. They all tried to make me not tell my parents, nor friends, nor loved ones, nor anybody about what they had done or what they were trying to do to me. They all tried to stop me from understanding the tremendous power that came with involving others into our pain. And that led me to discover a secret. I discovered that the greatest weapon against sexual harassers is our decision to speak out together against them. Now, I understand that so many of us might not want to talk because sometimes these people are people that are close to us and people that we trust. They are friends, family members, you name it. But I want you to remember these three things. First of all, a rapist is a rapist. It doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, or what they mean to you. As you speak out against them, you are able to create safe spaces for other survivors to begin to speak out too, even against the people who have harmed them, even though they trust those people. Second, you matter. Now, it doesn't matter who you are, who you think you are, who you think you were, or who you think you should be. You matter, and you deserve to be protected. And you deserve to protect yourself too. So by protecting yourself and speaking out against such people, unconsciously you are protecting others in your situation. Third, you do not need to battle alone. You go find yourself a tribe and be a tribe to others. Now, our MSU community is going through a lot right now. It is a healing process. And I hope that by speaking up today, I am contributing a little bit to this healing process. For me, I have decided to shut my ears to any community that decides to lock me up into any prison of silence by claiming that women are to be seen, not heard, and it is unladylike to speak too much. I hope that today, if you're in the audience and you can connect with me, that you too would decide to break that prison of silence for yourself. Now, I have a professor, and he likes to say that the world is an ethical wasteland. And he's so deep about it when he says it. It's like, the world is an ethical wasteland. Now, even if the world is an ethical wasteland, and even if the world might not be worthy of protection, well, you are worthy of protection. And you are because you are priceless. So I hope that today, together, we would be able to voice out our stories and inspire and empower the next generation of priceless survivors. I hope that today, together, we would be able to assert to the rest of the world that women should be seen, women must be heard, and that it is classy and sassy and powerful and trendy to speak too much. Thank you.